Good day, I am Mr. Brian Luis G. Lazaro and welcome to my research class. Today we will discuss about the different types of variables. Have you met this term before? Or is this your first encounter with it? Well, if that's the case, let's start our journey to the types of variables. We all know that having low quarter examination scores may affect the overall grade that a student may receive for the entire semester. However, it is necessary for us to identify the factors affecting low quarter examination scores. One factor might be confusion met by the student during the test proper. He or she might come across with a confusing scenario or situation during the examination. Another factor that may contribute to the premise is that the student might overslept and fail to come on time on the day of the examination. The student might also run out of time during the examination. Or, the student may have also spent the night putting his or her attention on social media. All of these sample factors affecting low quarter examination scores are called variables. By definition, a variable is an element, feature, or factor that is liable to vary or change. It is also something that can change, especially in a way that cannot be known in advance. It is not consistent or does not follow a fixed pattern. Therefore, we can conclude that a variable is a measurable characteristic that varies. It may change from group to group, person to person, or within one person over time. Remember that variable can take any forms. It could be anything around you. As a researcher, the variables of the study depends on your choice. It could be age, gender, grades, emotions, nationality, or your career or job. However, due to the complexity of variables, it was later on subdivided into 4 types. These are numeric, categorical, experimental, and non-experimental. Now let us delve in on each of these subtypes. Let's have the first one. Let us start with the numeric variables. These are variables where the measurement or number has a numerical meaning. It answers the questions how much and how many, thus making it a quantitative data. It is divided into 2, discrete and continuous. Discrete variable is a variable where the measurement or number has a numerical meaning. However, continuous variables are variables that can take on an unlimited number of values. Thus, discrete variables always take the form of whole numbers, while continuous ones take the form of decimal or fractions. Since discrete variables take the form of whole numbers and considers a finite countable numbers, here are some of its examples. It could be the population, the number of students in a cafeteria, the number of your toys, or even the number of pencils inside your pencil case. It could also be the number of likes you get in the social media. However, continuous variables by definition takes the form of decimals and fractions, which means it measures an infinite number of values. Here are some examples. It could be the height. It could be your weight. It could be your money. Or even the length of anything. Now let's go to the second one. Let's have the categorical variables. Categorical variables are variables that take on values that are names or their quality or labels. It answers the questions what type, which category, and making it a qualitative data. It is divided into 4 categories. It could be ordinal, nominal, dichotomous, or polychotomous. Ordinal categorical variables are variables that take values with an order or rank. Nominal, on the other hand, are variables that are used to name, label, or categorize values. Dichotomous variable takes on one of only two possible values, while polychotomous are variables that can have more than two values. As we have discussed a while ago, ordinal numbers are concerned with order or rankings. Here are some examples. It could be the rank in the Miss Universe, could be your rank in your gaming sites, could be the sales of the month or the rank of the sales of the month. Anything that is concerned with ranking are ordinal variable. However, nominal variables are present in labels and names just like these examples. As you can see, countries or the name of the countries are nominal variables. It could also be the color of the shirts. Red, blue, pink, orange, these are all nominal variables. The plate numbers of the cars or the vehicles that you use. And also, your blood type. It could also be the names of your classmates. Dichotomous variables, on the other hand, are variables that takes only two values. Here are some examples. It could be a yes or no question, since there are two possible values. Could be true or false, or sex or male or female. On the other hand, polychotomous variable, from the word poly means many, it takes more than two values, unlike the dichotomous variable. It could be the performance level, from below average to outstanding. It could also be the level of education, from preschool to grade 12 and to higher education. It could also be the social media that you are using, like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and many other more. It could also be the brand of cell phones that you use. Now let's go to the third type. The third type of variable is experimental. These are variables that determine causal relationships between test and control samples. It is divided into 5, namely dependent variables, independent variables, control variables, moderator variables, and extraneous variables. Let us take the first two types of experimental variables, the independent and dependent variables. Independent variables are variables that presume to cause changes to another variable. It is usually manipulated in an experiment. However, dependent variables are the variables that change because of another variable. It is affected by the manipulation of the independent variable. Thus, we can say that independent variables are the causal variables, while the dependent ones are the effect variables. Take a look at this example. Our study aims to determine the effect of yoga in relieving stress. What are the possible variables in the study? Very good. We have yoga and stress. Now, what do you think is our independent and dependent variable between the two? Excellent! Yoga is the independent variable, while stress is a dependent variable. Why? Because yoga will affect stress. Let us consider another situation. Let us say we want to know the effect of playing video games to students' academic performance. What are the variables of the study? Correct! Playing games and academic performance serves as our variables of the study. However, which is the independent and which is the dependent? Correct again. Playing video games is the independent variable, while academic performance is the dependent one, because playing games is presumed to cause an effect to the student's academic performance. Now, let us distinguish more experimental variables. Control variables are any factor that is controlled or held constant. It is sometimes called the constant variable. However, moderator variables are variables that can strengthen, diminish, negate, or otherwise alter the association between independent and dependent variables. In short, it is a variable that can also change the direction of the effect, which is related to the independent variable. Let's consider this study again. We already know that yoga is our independent variable, while stress is the dependent. Now, can you guess what is our moderator and control variable? Alright, one possible moderator variable is the type of yoga. The type of yoga, which is directly related to the independent variable, may affect the impact of yoga to stress, thus causing a change in the effect or result of the study. On the other hand, time can be a control variable, as the time duration of the yoga practice can be held constant during the experiment. The concept of the previous example is also related to this example. In this study, the type of video game can affect the overall result of the study, which happens to also be related to the independent variable, making it a possible moderator variable. The duration or time can also be held constant during the experiment. Therefore, it is a possible control variable of the study. However, there are variables that may affect the study that is not the independent variable or any related factors about it. These are called extraneous variables. These are all variables which are not the independent variable but could affect the results of the experiment. These are any variables that you are not intentionally studying in your experiment or test. It is sometimes called plausible causes of change. In this example, the extraneous variables, or in Filipino we can consider panggulo, are noise or room temperature. It may cause plausible changes to the effect as it may affect the person under the experiment. Note that these variables are not part of your study, yet it can affect the overall outcome of your study. In this example, however, sound devices and room size may affect the study. Room size could be a factor when the video games demand kinesthetic actions. Let's go to the last type of variable. It is called non-experimental variables. These are the non-manipulable variables. These variables does not require any experiments. There are two types of it: predictor and criterion. Predictor variables are like independent variables. It affect or change other variables. However, criterion variables are the counterpart of the independent variable, the variables that are influenced or changed by the predictor variable. Let us take for example, we are studying the impact of parenting styles to students' IQ level. The predictor variable is the parenting styles as it may cause influence to students' IQ level. However, students' IQ level is the criterion variable as it is the variable that is presumed to be affected. Take a look at this example. In this study, the influence of product branding on consumer buying behavior. The product branding is the predictor variable as it may affect the consumer buying behavior, which is the criterion variable. As a conclusion, variables takes four different classifications, namely numeric, categorical, experimental, and non-experimental variables. Numeric variables is divided into two types: discrete and continuous. Categorical is branched into four: nominal, ordinal, dichotomous, and polychotomous. Experimental ones takes five different forms, namely dependent, independent, control, moderator, and extraneous variables. Lastly, non-experimental takes two forms, predictor and criterion. I hope you gained new learnings during our entire discussion. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates on my upcoming lessons on practical research. Again, this is Prof. B, your virtual Flexi teacher.